If you have Crohn's disease, you don't have a chronic digestive illness. You have a disaster. Crohn's is one of the truly catastrophic outcomes you can get when it comes to losing your digestive health. According to mainstream medicine, the cause is unknown, there's no cure, and it results in long-term complications. In this video, I'm going to tell you why that's not my experience and why Crohn's is curable and what you need to do if you want to recover. First of all, the reason Crohn's disease is a disaster is not actually what you're thinking. The real catastrophe of Crohn's is this. You live in a place where the medical system has the wrong idea about what's really going on inside you. That means you're going to end up going back to the doctor over and over again and getting told the same thing multiple times, which means more and more medications, none of which actually help you recover. My experience is that Crohn's disease is curable, but not if you treat it according to modern medical principles. You see, the modern medical system is obsessed with a methodology best labeled as reductionism. Reductionism is when you shrink everything down to tinier and tinier subunits like cells and molecules. And the problem with this reductionist approach is that even though it can result in some truly amazing emergency medical procedures and treatments like zapping cancer cells, for example, it's worse than useless when it comes to managing a chronic digestive condition. In fact, it's actually counterproductive. When you have a chronic digestive illness, you need to pay attention to the connections between things. And the problem with reductionism is that once you zero in on one specific area or one group of cells or one part of the body, you end up ignoring the very important connections that are taking place between the different factors driving your chronic condition. So what am I talking about specifically here? Well, when I say connections, specifically, I'm referring to the way in which your organs influence one another. When you have a chronic condition, you don't have one thing going on. You can't focus in on one area of the body or one type of tissue or one group of cells. Reductionism not only misses the connections between the different factors driving your complicated condition, the real catastrophe is that reductionism also results in some insanely simplistic so-called solutions. For Crohn's disease, this looks like antidiarrheal meds, antispasmodics, anti-inflammatories like steroids, all of which not only prolong your condition, they actually make it impossible to heal because they make the underlying what are called disease mechanisms even worse. That's why you need a system that helps you understand all of the various factors driving your Crohn's disease, how each factor influences every other, and then gives you an overarching strategy to recover on your own. It's these disease mechanisms that modern medicine ignores, and until you address your condition at the level of disease mechanisms, you can't really expect anything to improve. If you enjoy this channel and benefit from learning about ancient medicine and how it can help people with modern chronic conditions like yours, then you'll love my new book, The Patient Empowerment and Self-Care Manifesto. There's 112 pages of simple, easy-to-understand wisdom from ancient medicine with its elegant system of pattern diagnosis for helping regular people understand the exact root causes of hundreds of chronic conditions, the exact chronic conditions modern medicine cannot help you with. You'll also discover what steps you need to take to reclaim your sovereignty over your health and your recovery. In it, I delve deep into the 4 areas that affect your body's ability to recover from a chronic condition: diet, targeted exercises, state of mind practices, and simple remedies and treatments anyone can use, and which specific steps you need to take in what order if you want to activate and control your body's own self-healing resources. I promise you, this book is unlike anything you've ever seen or read before in the fad diet, biohacking, fad fitness, fad health and wellness, fad everything new age industries. Once you read Patient Empowerment and Self-Care, you'll never think about your health or chronic illness the same ever again. You can get a free copy of my Patient Empowerment and Self-Care Manifesto and ask me questions directly twice a month on my Ask Me Anything coaching calls when you take a trial membership to my private community, the Nix Institute for Self-Healing and Integration. The link is in the description. So, for example, Crohn's is a combination of heat plus dampness deep in your organs, typically in your intestines, although this heat and dampness can go elsewhere. Heat always points to a certain burden in the liver. Let me explain. When the body is working hard to keep you alive, to keep your cells nourished, to keep your tissues going, right, to keep your organs functioning the correct way, most of that burden It's referred to as metabolism. The broad label that we give to all the various chemical and biochemical processes that go on in the body are referred to as metabolic processes. And the main organ of metabolism, although your entire body is involved in this, from your lungs to your brain to your heart to your intestines, etc. But the main driver, the main organ that is tasked with the metabolic processes in the body that keep you alive on an hour by hour, day by day basis is the liver. And when your metabolism has to work excessively fast or hard, when the liver has to produce at a rate beyond what it is comfortable and capable of doing, you experience this as various kinds of symptoms of heat. And so all heat always points at the liver. Any heat condition in the body points back to the liver as one of the main culprits. It's not the only thing that contributes to it, but all heat relates to the liver because all heat is, one way or another, going to have to do with liver metabolism and the function of the liver, the various tasks that are being performed by the liver. Now, understand, when I say heat, I don't necessarily mean that you're running a fever. I'm not talking about taking your temperature and finding out that you have an elevated temperature indicating a fever in the body, which almost always points to something very serious like an infection. That's an acute condition. If you have an acute condition, you shouldn't be watching this channel. You should get to the emergency room as quickly as possible or take sensible steps to treat an acute condition. The only thing I talk about here is how to manage and better recover from chronic illness. And heat conditions in the body are experienced as heat. You have heat, you feel hot, you get waves of heat like heat flashes, etc., etc. This is something that affects both men and women, but when the liver is overheating, you can expect a certain amount of heat. And certainly in Crohn's disease, you're going to experience the sensation of heat, whether you're just feeling hot at a certain time of day or particularly at night, as the case may be, but heat will be a big complicating factor. The other major factor is dampness. Dampness can take several forms in the body. For example, food and waste that's trapped in your intestines. Obviously, if you have Crohn's disease, this is a big problem. This is referred to in ancient medicine as food stagnation, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's food and waste that get trapped in various little pockets of your intestines. This is a great way to end up with something like Crohn's disease. But it always manifests sooner or later, usually first, it manifests as excess mucus in the body. And so the first thing that you'll notice is a lot of postnasal drip, sinusitis, rhinitis, drainage coming from your back of your throat and also your sinus passages. But when heat and dampness combine deep inside the body, you can end up with intestinal abscesses. And this is the basic pathology of Crohn's disease. You develop so much heat and the dampness becomes so overwhelming that the body can't get rid of all this excess fluid and mucus that's building up in your intestines that you develop a sore, right? An abscess inside your digestive tract, usually in the small or possibly the large intestine. And this is usually brought about, terribly enough, the bad news, or maybe it's good news to you, this is usually brought about by sheer ignorance. A lot of people with Crohn's disease have no idea that certain foods and food combinations simply do not belong together. So step one is to identify these foods and then eliminate them. Things like hot and spicy foods, or what is called in ancient medical lexicon, thick flavored foods, also cause and contribute to dampness. Dampness is also the result of the overwhelming trend to over-medicate patients in the modern medical system. If you've had antibiotics or any of a very long list of pills that many people are taking today, it's no mystery why you ended up with Crohn's disease. All of these things tend to complicate the way the body has to process food, and this can cause this heat and damp condition inside your intestines. But the good news is, it's also not a big mystery how you can recover. And the one thing you don't want to do is get trapped in what I call the modern medical merry-go-round, where you follow the advice of a doctor who gives you another pill and another pill, right, that just adds to your misery going forward. That's why I created something I call the pivot protocol. Your pivot is what ancient medicine refers to when they're talking about the one thing that modern medicine totally ignores and that your doctor isn't even allowed to talk about, probably because they never heard about it in med school either. I'm talking about your body's own self-healing system. The best chance you have to heal your gut, whether it's Crohn's disease or any of 2 to 3 dozen other common chronic digestive conditions, is your body's own self-healing system. Only the pivot protocol really shows you how to trigger and control your body's own healing system so you can recover on your own without pills, supplements, or endless pointless doctor visits. So in the case of Crohn's disease, the place to begin is to take an inventory of all the factors that contribute to the primary imbalances of heat plus dampness. So in this case, I already mentioned that if you're dealing with a heat condition, you know the liver is overworked. You know that that's going on. Well, this is what is triggered by what we commonly refer to as stress. Stress is an elevated level of metabolism. Here I'm not talking about, oh, I feel so stressed. No, I'm talking about the physiological reaction in the body to try to help you keep going, to pay the mortgage, get the kids off to school, get the work, get the project done. Right? All of the various things that put pressure on your body to perform in the modern world, and there's a lot of things that put pressure on your body to keep performing, create this elevated metabolic heat in the body. Once that happens, a couple other things happen right away. The pressure that puts on the body, and I explain this even more inside the various trainings, which you can find out about below this video. Once the liver overheats, there are immediate effects on your stomach. Heat in the liver tends to make you hungry faster. Well, that makes sense because if you're metabolizing faster, you need more fuel. So you eat more food more frequently. You eat meals closer together. That excess food then becomes a burden. So the liver overheats, the stomach overheats, causing rapid hungering and a large appetite. And then you get problems processing all of this food. The main organ that is in charge of processing that food is your spleen. In ancient medicine, they placed great emphasis on, it's not exactly the same in modern medicine, but the function and the responsibility of the spleen is to sort out all the food that you put into your stomach. It has to separate out the good stuff from the stuff that you don't need, so you absorb the good nutrients and then you eliminate the waste. And the spleen, of course, has a very close relationship to your intestines as well. Now, if you want to know more about how to heal Crohn's disease or any other digestive illness you may be stuck with, and you're tired of going back to your doctor over and over again with nothing to show for it but more pills and side effects, which aren't really side effects, they're actually negative effects, please check out my Pivot Protocol private group coaching. The links are both below this video. Thanks, and remember, your body knows how to heal on its own.